Take a slow breath before you continue. Not because something bad is coming, not because you should be afraid, but because this moment deserves your full presence. Somewhere between your last thought and this very second, a quiet remembrance surfaced. A face, a voice, a feeling you haven't named in a long time. That didn't happen by accident. You are here because a bond you once shared is still alive, not in the body, but in meaning. And today, that meaning is gently unfolding. There are people who pass through our lives and leave behind memories. And then there are people who leave behind imprints on how we think, how we love, how we see ourselves when no one else is watching. Those imprints don't disappear when someone leaves this world. They evolve. They become guidance. They become quiet strength. They become moments like this, where you feel strangely understood without anyone saying your name. You may have noticed something recently. A pause in your routine. A question rising again and again. A sense that you are standing at the edge of a new chapter, even if you don't yet know how to turn the page. This is not confusion. This is preparation. Growth always announces itself softly before it becomes visible. And sometimes, the clearest reminders come from those who once knew us best. Think of that loved one, not with sadness, but with honesty. What did they want for you? Not what they said in passing, but what they hoped in their quiet moments. They wanted you to live well. They wanted you to become steady, capable, and confident. They wanted your life to expand, not shrink around fear or regret. That desire did not leave with them. It lives on as encouragement, a kind of inner voice that pushes you toward clarity instead of chaos. Right now, you are being reminded of something essential. Your life is not meant to be survived. It is meant to be built. Built with understanding. Built with patience. Built with care for both your inner world and your physical well-being. True love never pulls us backward. It always points us forward. Let's talk about the body for a moment. Not in fear, but in respect. Your body is not a burden. It is an instrument. Every breath you take fuels your focus. Every movement you make supports your mind. Every choice you repeat shapes your energy. The people who loved you would never want you to neglect this gift. Rest is not weakness. Discipline is not punishment. Consistency is not boredom. These are forms of self-respect. When you take care of your body, you sharpen your mind. When you strengthen your mind, you elevate your future. This is not motivation. This is alignment. Now consider your direction in life. Success is often misunderstood as noise, achievement, recognition, constant motion. But real success is quieter. It is waking up without dread. It is knowing why you are doing what you are doing. It is feeling capable of handling what comes next. You don't need to rush. You need to anchor. And that is what this moment is offering you, a grounding. There is a reason your attention has been drawn inward lately. You are learning to listen before you act, to observe before you decide, to build before you announce. This is maturity. This is growth. And it is exactly where those who care about you would want you to be. You may feel a subtle shift happening now, not emotional, but mental. A slowing down, a deeper awareness. This is where lasting change begins. Not with dramatic declarations, but with calm understanding. Let this be clear, you are not being pushed. You are being supported. There is no urgency rooted in fear here. Only encouragement rooted in love. A reminder that your time matters, your health matters, your effort matters, and that the best chapters of your life are written with intention, not pressure. As this part comes to a close, stay with the feeling you have right now. Not the words, the feeling, that calm clarity, that steady presence, that sense of being gently guided without being controlled. This is the foundation. In the next part, we will go deeper, into purpose, direction, and the quiet habits that turn potential into reality. For now, simply remain here, breathing, listening, becoming aware. The journey has already begun. Stay with me for a moment longer. Not because you have to, but because something important is quietly taking shape inside you right now. This part is not about remembering the past. It is about understanding the present, and gently preparing for a stronger, clearer future. If part 1 felt calm, part 2 will feel steady. like standing on solid ground after a long walk. There is a truth most people don't realize until much later in life. The people who loved us deeply never wanted us to live emotionally stuck in them. They wanted us to grow beyond them. That is love at its highest level. Not attachment, not dependency, but guidance that continues even when words stop. You may have noticed something about yourself recently. You are not as reactive as before. You pause more. You think before you speak. You feel less pulled by chaos. This is not you becoming distant. This is you becoming centered. And that shift is powerful. Let's talk about the mind for a moment. Your mind is not meant to be constantly entertained. It is meant to be trained. Trained to focus. Trained to choose long-term peace over short-term distraction. Trained to recognize what truly matters. Every calm decision you make strengthens this skill. And those who once guided you in life would be proud of this quiet discipline forming within you. There is something else happening too. Your standards are changing. What once felt normal now feels draining. What once felt exciting now feels empty. This doesn't mean you're losing interest in life. It means you are outgrowing noise. Growth often feels like solitude at first, but it eventually becomes clarity. Now let's talk about success, not the loud version, but the sustainable one. Real success is built slowly. It looks like learning when to say no, protecting your energy, investing in skills instead of validation, choosing routines over random motivation. This kind of success doesn't shout. It supports. And it lasts. Your loved one's presence, not as a memory, but as influence, has shaped this direction more than you realize. They wanted you to become capable, independent, grounded, not rushed, not pressured, not constantly comparing yourself to others. They wanted you to trust your pace. There is wisdom in how you're moving now. You are learning that health is not extreme behavior, it is consistency. Eating with awareness, moving your body with respect, resting without guilt. A strong body creates a calm mind. A calm mind creates clear decisions. Clear decisions create success. This is a cycle worth protecting. You don't need to overhaul your life overnight. Transformation does not require force. It requires alignment. Small actions, repeated daily, shape a future that feels stable instead of stressful. This is how confidence is built, not by proving, but by becoming reliable to yourself. Notice how this message does not rush you. That's intentional. Because real guidance never pushes. It grounds. You are not behind. You are not late. You are not missing anything meant for you. You are exactly where awareness begins. There may be moments when you feel pressure from the outside. People asking, what's next? When will you decide? Why aren't you moving faster? Remember this, a tree does not explain its growth. It simply grows. And when it is ready, it provides shade, fruit, and strength, without announcement. Your life is entering a phase of quiet building. Skills over shortcuts. Health over exhaustion. Meaning over noise. This phase may not impress everyone, but it will support you for years. And that is what those who love you would always want. Take a moment here. Let your breathing slow. Let your shoulders relax. You are not being tested. You are being refined. This refinement is gentle, intentional, deep. In the next part, we will move even further, into purpose, direction, and how to align your daily actions with the life you are slowly becoming ready for. For now, stay present. You don't need answers yet. Awareness is enough. And you are doing well. Stay right here. Don't rush forward. Don't scroll away. Because what unfolds in this part is not information, it is recognition. Something in you already knows what's coming next. That's why your attention hasn't drifted. That's why your breathing feels slower than before. You are not being entertained right now. You are being aligned. At a certain point in life, something subtle changes. You stop asking, why did this happen to me? And you begin asking, what is this preparing me for? That question marks the beginning of inner adulthood. It's the moment you realize that life is not random, it is responsive. Responsive to how you think. Responsive to how you treat your body. Responsive to how you choose discipline over impulse, clarity over chaos, growth over comfort. The people who once stood beside you, who shaped you, protected you, believed in you, understood something essential. Your strength was always meant to become self-sustaining. They didn't want you to depend forever. They wanted you to stand. And standing doesn't mean never needing support. It means knowing how to create stability from within. Right now, you are learning how to do that. You may not even realize it yet, but your nervous system is calming. Your reactions are slowing. Your awareness is expanding. This is not accidental. This is what happens when emotional maturity begins to replace emotional urgency. Let's talk about emotional intelligence, not the buzzword version, but the lived version. Emotional intelligence is the ability to feel deeply without being controlled by those feelings. It's knowing when to pause instead of react, when to speak instead of prove, when to walk away instead of explain. This skill is built quietly, often during moments when no one is watching, and it becomes one of the greatest advantages a person can have. Your loved one understood this. They didn't need you to be perfect. They needed you to be aware. Aware of your triggers, aware of your limits, aware of your value, even when unrecognized by others. That awareness is now becoming part of how you move through life. Notice how you are beginning to protect your energy. You no longer feel the need to engage in every argument. You no longer chase validation that once felt essential. You are less interested in being seen, and more interested in being steady. This is growth that doesn't announce itself, but it transforms everything. Let's shift toward the physical aspect for a moment, because your body is not separate from your purpose. Your physical state influences your emotional state. Your emotional state influences your mental clarity. Your mental clarity influences your decisions. This is not philosophy. This is biology. When you nourish your body with intention, your mind becomes more resilient. When you move your body regularly, your thoughts become less cluttered. When you rest properly, your perspective sharpens. Success does not come from burnout. It comes from balance. You are not meant to exhaust yourself to prove your worth. You are meant to develop stamina, the kind that lasts decades, not moments. That is the kind of life those who loved you envisioned for you. A life built on strength, not strain. Now consider your work, whatever form it takes right now. Work is not just about income. It is about identity. Not who you say you are, but who you become through repetition. Each focused hour shapes competence. Each completed task builds trust with yourself. Over time, that trust becomes confidence. And confidence is quiet. It doesn't need permission. You may feel a growing desire to simplify. Fewer distractions, clearer priorities, more meaningful goals. This is not withdrawal from life. It is refinement. Just as the mind learns to focus, the life learns to align. Pause here for a moment. Notice how you are still present. That matters. Because attention is the most valuable resource you have, and you are choosing to invest it inward, not outward. This choice alone places you ahead of where you once were. Let's speak honestly about purpose. Purpose is not always dramatic. It is rarely revealed all at once. Most purpose unfolds through responsibility, taking care of what is in front of you, with care. Purpose grows when you show up consistently, when you do small things well, when you treat ordinary moments with respect. This is how meaningful lives are built. The influence of your loved one is present here, not as instruction, but as encouragement. A quiet reassurance that says, keep going. You're learning. You're becoming. You don't need to rush toward outcomes. You need to continue building capacity. Capacity to focus. Capacity to rest. Capacity to choose wisely. Capacity to remain calm under pressure. This capacity will carry you further than urgency ever could. As this part begins to settle, recognize what has shifted. You are not searching for answers anymore. You are cultivating stability. That is the ground on which success grows. In the next part, we will move into integration, how to bring mind, body, discipline, and purpose into a single, sustainable direction. For now, remain here, steady, present, grounded. You are not becoming someone else. You are becoming yourself, fully formed. Pause here with me, not because something dramatic is about to happen, but because something important is settling into place. If you've stayed this far, it means one thing: your mind has slowed enough to receive. That's rare. Most people rush through life collecting noise. You are doing something different. You are integrating. And integration is where real transformation begins. At this stage, growth no longer feels like effort. It feels like clarity. You're not trying to become better out of pressure. You're becoming better out of understanding. That shift changes everything. There comes a moment when we stop asking others how to live our lives, and start listening to our internal compass. This compass is not loud. It doesn't demand attention. It simply waits until you're calm enough to hear it. You are hearing it now. The people who loved you, the ones whose presence shaped your early sense of safety, knew that eventually, you would have to trust yourself. Not because you wouldn't miss them, but because your life would need to continue expanding. Love, when it is real, always points toward growth. Let's talk about integration, bringing mind, body, emotion, and action into alignment. When these elements are disconnected, life feels chaotic. When they work together, life feels steady. You are learning how to create this steadiness. Your thoughts are becoming more intentional. You no longer entertain every idea that enters your mind. You choose which thoughts deserve your energy. This is mental strength. Mental strength is not forcing positivity. It is directing attention. Your emotions are becoming more informative than overwhelming. You feel them, but they no longer control you. They guide you. You recognize what energizes you and what quietly drains you. This awareness protects your future. Your body is becoming a partner, not an obstacle. You respect its signals. You move with purpose. You rest without guilt. Physical well-being is not about appearance. It is about sustainability. A sustainable body supports a sustainable life. Your actions are becoming simpler and more powerful. You do fewer things, but you do them well. You stop overcommitting. You start following through. Consistency replaces intensity, and consistency wins. This integration didn't happen overnight. It happened because you allowed yourself to slow down instead of burning out. It happened because you chose understanding over urgency. That choice will continue to reward you. Now let's speak about direction. Direction does not require certainty. It requires commitment to learning. You don't need to know the final destination. You need to know the next step. And you are taking it. The presence of those who once guided you is felt most strongly in moments like this, when you are calm, focused, and grounded. Not when you are desperate. Not when you are lost. But when you are becoming capable. There is a quiet confidence forming in you. Not the kind that seeks validation. The kind that rests in preparation. You trust yourself more now. And that trust changes how you move through the world. Let's address success one more time, because true success is misunderstood. Success is not pressure. It is preparedness. Preparedness to handle responsibility. Preparedness to adapt. Preparedness to remain steady when things change. You are developing this preparedness now. You may notice that you are less interested in proving yourself. You don't need to announce your plans. You don't need approval to proceed. You are building privately, and that privacy protects your progress. Pause again. Feel the calm. This calm is not emptiness. It is space. Space to think clearly. Space to act deliberately. Space to grow without interference. The people who loved you would recognize this version of you. Not because you are the same, but because you are fulfilled. Fulfilled doesn't mean finished. It means aligned. As this part gently comes to rest, understand this. You are no longer reacting to life. You are responding to it. That is mastery in its early form. In the next part, we will explore how this inner alignment translates into long-term purpose, contribution, and a sense of meaning that extends beyond the self. For now, remain still. You are exactly where progress becomes permanent. Stay here. Not because you're waiting for something to happen, but because something is already unfolding. This part is quieter than the others. And that's intentional. Because what grows loud too early often collapses under its own weight. What you're building now is meant to last. At this stage of the journey, something changes in the way you listen. You're no longer listening for excitement. You're listening for truth. Truth doesn't rush. It doesn't demand belief. It simply feels right when it arrives. And right now, you're in a state where truth can land gently. There is a deep difference between movement and progress. Movement is busy. Progress is intentional. Earlier in life, movement felt productive. Doing more felt like becoming more. But now, you're learning a higher form of growth, doing what matters, consistently. This is wisdom settling into the body. The influence of the one you loved, the one whose presence shaped your early understanding of care, is strongest here. Not in memories, not in emotion alone, but in the values you are beginning to embody naturally. They wanted you to become someone who could carry life well, not someone who merely reacts to it. Let's talk about responsibility, not as a burden, but as a privilege. Responsibility means you trust yourself with your own future. It means you understand that small daily actions create long-term stability. This understanding doesn't come from pressure. It comes from maturity, and maturity feels calm. You may notice that your goals are changing. They are no longer rooted in comparison. They are rooted in capability. You want to be strong enough to handle opportunity, focused enough to maintain progress, healthy enough to enjoy what you build. This is a powerful shift. Your body plays a central role here, not as something to control, but as something to support. When you move your body with consistency, you train discipline without stress. When you nourish it properly, you sharpen clarity without force. When you rest intentionally, you recover strength instead of burning out. This balance is not luxury. It is preparation. Those who cared for you would never want you exhausted by life. They would want you resilient. Resilience doesn't come from pushing harder. It comes from building systems that support you. You are learning how to create those systems. Now let's turn inward again. Notice how your inner dialogue has softened. You're less harsh with yourself, less reactive to mistakes, more willing to learn than to judge. This is emotional education in action. You are teaching yourself how to grow without punishment, and that changes the entire trajectory of a life. There is a quiet confidence developing, not the kind that announces itself, the kind that shows up prepared. You trust your ability to adapt. You trust your ability to learn. You trust your ability to continue even when clarity isn't complete. That trust is earned. Success, when approached this way, becomes sustainable. It no longer requires constant motivation. It is powered by routine, clarity, and patience. You show up because it aligns with who you are becoming, not because you are chasing approval. This alignment creates peace. Pause here for a moment. Let the silence speak. Notice how there is no urgency in this message, no fear driving it forward, only steadiness. That steadiness is the signal. You are entering a phase of life where depth matters more than speed, where understanding matters more than recognition, where contribution matters more than attention. This phase may look quiet from the outside, but it is powerful from within. The loved one whose presence still influences you would recognize this moment. They would see that you are no longer searching for permission. You are acting from clarity. That is the greatest sign of growth. As part 5 gently comes to rest, understand this. You are not being guided toward something external. You are being guided toward integration. A life where your thoughts, actions, body, and values move in the same direction. That is fulfillment. In the next part, we will explore how this inner steadiness naturally turns into meaningful contribution, how what you are becoming begins to positively shape the world around you. For now, stay grounded. You are not rushing. You are arriving, slowly, steadily, completely.